Exciting.
Welcome to Amplify with Amanda Sapp, where we elevate conversations that expand perspective, challenge assumptions, and remind us that our voices matter in shaping the future. Today's episode is about technology, but more importantly, it's about people. As artificial intelligence continues to evolve, many feel left behind, overwhelmed, or unsure if where they fit in this new digital world. The truth is, technology should not make us feel disposable. It should not silence communities, and it should never move faster than our values. Today's guest is someone who helps bring clarity where there's a confusion and confidence where there is fear. I'm honored to welcome someone who is an ethical technologist and professor with ByteWise LLC and Johns Hopkins University. His work is rooted in a powerful belief that you do not have to be an engineer, programmer, or a tech person to thrive in a technology-driven world. Through his work, he helps demystify AI, centers ethics and innovation, and ensures that communities, especially those historically excluded, have a seat at the table shaping the future. This conversation is for anyone who has ever wondered, where do I fit in a world powered by AI? How do we ensure technology serves humanity, not the other way around? And how do our values guide innovation instead of getting left behind? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Amplify with Amanda Sapp, Mr. Mohamed Ali Hafez. Grand Rising.
Thank you, Amanda. It is good to be on the show. Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you here on this broadcast with me today. And for someone who is just hearing about you for the very first time, tell me just a little bit more about you.
Well, I've been in the technology industry for 17 years. I've had many career changes, but my favorite career change was, I went to school as an econ major. I started off in banking, but as a kid, I've always enjoyed technology. I actually remember having a computer at 5 years old and programming it and playing games on it. And so, I found myself with an econ degree doing banking, and I said, what am I doing? This was 17 years ago. And I said, I really love tech. And even though I did not have a degree in technology, I was simply curious. Now, I had some knowledge just from, having a computer and fiddling around with it myself, but I really kind of purposefully shifted careers into the tech career field. Started off as just a regular old IT network administrator, and 17 years later, I'm advising Fortune 500 companies on, solutions, communication solutions across the globe, and AI solutions. And it all started because I was curious, and I decided I really wanted to get into this field just because I loved it as a kid.
Love that. I love that. Now, we're going to get right into it if you don't mind, Mohamed. When people hear AI, fear often comes before understanding. What do you believe people need to hear first to feel grounded instead of overwhelmed?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first thing people need to understand is that AI is a technology. It's a tool, just like anything else that we've used throughout history. And I think that this is a very powerful tool. And I think it's for the first time in history, we're seeing a tool that is very, very human-like and intelligent, and therefore it strikes fear into certain people who don't understand it, because they see it as something that could replace them, something that could perhaps take away their agency. We hope that one day it doesn't tell us what to do. We don't get to a point where we're actually taking orders from an AI. This is a tool just like any other, and we need to learn it. We need to learn how to use it, and we need to make sure that it doesn't use us.
I love that. I love that. Now, you often emphasize that people don't need to be tech experts to thrive. What does thriving actually mean in today's technology-driven world?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that we all can benefit from is a healthy level of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Where, and this is something that I, as an educator myself, I realized that one of the failings of our school system is not encouraging curiosity, not just memorization and rote knowledge, right? Knowledge is all about, it's not about the information that you download into your head, but rather what excites you, what gets you to want to explore and learn more. And that comes from within. That's a curiosity. And I think that's one of those things that, with a healthy curiosity, you can learn anything. And nowadays, these tools, Amanda, can actually help us learn these skills faster than ever before. Higher education is actually in a little bit of trouble because people realize that they don't really need degrees in order to succeed in today's society. But what they really need to learn is how to learn. And that's really what school and university should be all about, is learning how to learn. And when you learn how to learn, and you have a healthy dose of curiosity, and you have a desire to actually learn this material instead of fearing it, it can be life-changing.
You've been in this 17 years. How has technology changed your life?
Well, I've always thought of technology as modern day magic. There's a quote by one of my favorite authors. I used to read an author called, his name is Isaac Asimov. He's, in sci-fi, he's one of the godfathers of science fiction, and he wrote some amazing books. And a lot of the technology that we see nowadays, I mean, he essentially predicted a long time ago in his books. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And this idea that, actually, I think that wasn't even Asimov. I think that was Arthur C. Clarke, forgive me, who was another great sci-fi writer as well. But the idea is that technology nowadays is like magic. I mean, we can make phone calls across the globe. We can see people. If you've ever played around with a virtual reality headset, I mean, you could completely feel like you're in a completely different world. We're now seeing automation do things that we've never thought possible. We've made it so that technology can now talk back to us. We're now advanced in robotics, and we're seeing robots become even more advanced day by day. So it's getting very, very, very powerful, but it is still a tool. And when you understand it, just like a magic trick, you realize, there's really no magic to it at all. But by not understanding it, then you can definitely feel like it's completely over your head, and it can feel like magic, and it can scare you and control you and do all and fool you and do all sorts of other things like that.
Okay, why is it dangerous when technology moves faster than our values?
Well, it's at the end of the day, a tool is a device that we use to make something or build something. Nowadays, we have gotten so good at building things and making things that we've forgotten why we're doing it. And I think, and you see one of my titles is an ethical technologist. I believe that technology should serve a purpose. And that purpose shouldn't simply be to make money, for example. So a lot of tech nowadays, we can use it all sorts of ways to automate printing money, doing things that may not be ethical, but allows us to accumulate large amounts of wealth. And, there's this concept now where tech is going to create abundance. It's going to be able, because of automation, we're going to be able to do things that won't actually require human labor anymore. So we're seeing this incredible time in history where we see just on the horizon the ability for us to never have to work and have things done for us, and we'll be all wealthy and do all of this. Yes, but at the end of the day, the importance is, are we doing this at the cost of something far more valuable? So if we are building all of this technology and it is killing our planet, the place where we live, that provides us our oxygen, our food, then we're going to make money in the short term, but in the long term, we're going to have a real problem. And I have a love-hate relationship with technology. Everybody's aware, or you might not, be aware, but the person behind OpenAI, Sam Altman, is a very well-known figure nowadays. You see him in the news all the time. He's been there's clips of him out there talking about how he believes there's a chance that AI will destroy humanity and the planet. But in the meantime, it's going to help us build some amazing things and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa, okay, hang on a second. We need to make sure that we're setting our long-term sights on the right thing here, right? If we are using this tech so that we can build massive companies and be wealthy, but that might destroy humanity, whoa, we hang on a second. We gotta go back. So this idea of, we need to make sure that when we build technology, we build it with humans in mind. We make sure that the humans have a place where this technology is going to automate, and that it doesn't exploit people or the planet but allows us to create a better society, a society where we all have more access to education and healthcare, and do so in a way that's sustainable, that doesn't also destroy our natural resources on our planet at the same time. So that's where the ethics comes in. And when it comes to tech is very, very powerful. But when you talk about automation, automated technology, AI, once you set it loose, the problem is that there's no human operator necessary anymore. That can be a real problem, because AI does not have moral judgment. It is not going to be, it's not going to understand. It's got a program, and it's going to run that program, even if that program runs people and the planet into the ground. So this is where we humans come in. So we got to make sure that we use tech in a way that empowers people, that empowers communities, that does not exacerbate biases, that does not marginalize people, that does not create even more wealth inequality. These are ways, and technology can absolutely do that, but it can also make those problems worse.
Now, you advocate for communities having a seat at the table. What happens when those voices are missing from innovation?
Well, this is the problem we talk about with bias. Even AI models are biased. So any of the viewers, and you included, Amanda, I'm sure at some point you've played around with a tool, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of these awesome AI models. And you could start asking it some questions. But before long, if you ask it certain questions about certain ethnicities, certain cultures, certain identities, you might find that its answers are biased from a I hate to say it, but from a kind of a waspy Western white perspective. As a matter of fact, when we look at where the majority of data that AI is trained on comes from, it comes from the global north. It comes from Western countries. It comes from Europe and the United States. Very little of that data comes from places like Africa, or to a certain degree Asia. And so, you think about these. You think about the fact that the models aren't trained on data coming from these places. Therefore, it's going to be inherently biased against those demographics. So when we talk about getting more people to not just be users of AI, but be shapers of AI, be able to build products and give it access to training data that comes from all of these different communities, it's important for representation. Otherwise, we're going to exacerbate this bias problem.
What role does tech literacy play in empowerment, especially for people who feel disconnected from the tech world?
Oh my goodness, Amanda, tech literacy is perhaps one of the most important skills nowadays, and this is kind of the hill that I'm gonna stand and die on. We talk about how important right now financial literacy is. Everybody understands how important it is to understand how Roth IRAs work and 401ks work, and the importance of saving and how to manage your budget. That's financial literacy is very important. I would argue that nowadays tech literacy, AI literacy is even more important, simply for the fact that not just so that you can be more than just a user of the tool, but really somebody who understands how it works, but also so that you can prevent the harmful effects of technology on you. So when we talk about AI literacy, one of the things that I teach in my workshops and in my classes is how AI works, how it works for us, and how it works against us. So users use social media all the time, for example. So Instagram, Facebook. A lot of people don't realize that AI is being used to keep us glued to our screens. This concept of doom scrolling doesn't come from nowhere. Why do people end up sitting there and just spending hours on Instagram? It's because there's an actual AI algorithm that is designed to essentially feed you a lot of the material that you like and more of it, which is great if you want to be able to consume content. It's nice, but the problem is that it actually the AI has gotten very good at exploiting how much we slow down when we scroll past something, and it learns all the time. It's learning our habits, it's learning what we like, and giving us more of it. So it's essentially kind of like being in a casino, and so it exploits our dopamine. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of youth are now, stuck in these endless cycles on browsing social media. One of the ways you can do that is now that you know that that's the case, you can actually curate your social media feed. You can curate your Instagram feed, but it's first important to understand how that feed uses AI to give you that content. So this is all under the umbrella of AI literacy. We're not even talking about how GPT works or how to use ChatGPT. We're talking about how AI is used for you every day or potentially used against you. This is also used in Netflix, how Netflix, recommends for you different movies. That all uses AI. And so AI literacy, understanding how that tech is being used in our daily lives nowadays, is more important than ever.
I know that there are certain age requirements as it relates to utilizing social media. Do you think that there should be an age requirement on utilizing platforms like ChatGPT, Claude AI, or different things like that?
I think that it under certain ages, it needs to be guided. What we don't want is, and I have young kids myself. What we don't want is for kids to instead of engaging their minds and asking questions, to simply rely on ChatGPT, because then that means that their muscle, one of their best muscles, which is their natural curiosity and asking questions, gets dulled at an early age, and that's absolutely terrible. I'll give you an example, Amanda. You, I'm sure, use GPS, Google Maps or something like that. Well, there was a time when we actually used to have to learn how to navigate and pull out a map and figure out where am I here. Nowadays, we have a nice little gadget that tells us exactly, we make a left, we got to make a right, and it just gets us there. The part of our brain that's responsible for navigation has now atrophied. It has gotten dull. So as an adult, I'm aware of this, but since I'm aware of it, at least, I can do something about it. Maybe one day I say, no, I'm just going to the office. I don't need GPS. I can navigate myself. And I do that. But kids don't understand that. They're still too young. And so if we just let them loose on something like ChatGPT, then they're going to use it to do their homework. And anytime they have a question, they'll take its word as gospel, as the right answer. They won't question it. They won't think it's incorrect. And so little by little, their cognitive abilities are going to decline. And there's a term that I like to use when I talk to leaders about AI. And I say, look, the more you use artificial intelligence, the more you're stacking what we call cognitive debt. That is the amount of energy that your brain had to process something to do it. Now you had a machine do it. So now you're in cognitive debt. If you think of your mind like a muscle, if you never actually use that muscle at the gym, it's going to atrophy. Well, similarly, every time we use AI to write a paper, instead of actually having to struggle to finish that 5-10 page paper that took us, hours to do, now I just feed a prompt and it gets done in 5 minutes or 5 seconds rather. Well, now we're definitely going to build a slow but eventual cognitive decline. And in children, this is especially more dangerous. So I'm not saying that children shouldn't use ChatGPT. In fact, we need to teach them how to work with this tech, but it needs to be guided by a teacher that ensures that at the forefront, students' curiosity and ability to critically think about what they're doing and how they're using these tools is incredibly important.
I love that GPS analogy. I have found myself putting in GPS just to go home. I know how to get home.
Exactly. You should try it. Yeah. Next time, just if you're going somewhere, like one time I forgot my phone as I was driving to work, and I literally forgot my phone. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I can survive without my phone. And I was like, I'm like, well, okay, well, I usually just do GPS to get to the office. And my office is not that close. It's like 20-30 minutes. But I'm like, I've driven to the office many times. I should be able to do this. And in fact, I did. And it was interesting because I actually had to think about where I was going. Whereas most of the time we mindlessly just look at what GPS is telling us to do. And we really, every once in a while, we need to take a break from that.
Yeah. And you probably saw things that you'd not seen before because you didn't have your phone to tell you how to
100%. Yes, you're right. You're right. Yes.
You spoke of leaders just a moment ago. How can leaders, educators, and entrepreneurs approach AI with intention instead of fear?
Well, first we must learn it, and we must not be afraid of it, and we must have a healthy relationship with it, which means we need to really understand how it works. And this is where, if you talk to AI educators in the field a lot, they'll talk about, there's this concept called train the trainer model, or a TTT. Train the trainer is this idea of we need to make sure that all teachers and faculty members and professors and people who are responsible for teaching, they need to learn this stuff first and foremost, because they're then going to be able to pass on the knowledge of how to use this effectively to their students. So I would say to every educator, don't bury your head in the sand. Don't say, okay, I'm not going to use this tech. I don't need to learn this tech, or I'm afraid of it, or I've actually seen educators that are going in the opposite direction of AI, and they're saying no tech in schools, no AI, none of that stuff. And I get it. I actually really understand why they're doing that. There's this counterculture of like, if AI is going to be so disruptive and potentially destructive, then just get rid of it entirely. But that's not going to change anything, because the tech is going to continue to evolve. It's going to be built into products. We're going to be using these products, and then it's going to be like magic for us. We're not even going to know how it works. So it made the problem even worse. I say, when the calculator first came out, there was this fear of what are students going to do if now all they do is they can type in the numbers and it just gives them the answer? Well, you still need to learn how to add and subtract and multiply and divide, but we now have a tool that does it, and we teach you how to do that first, and then we teach you how to use the calculator. But this idea of, well, no calculators ever, well, okay, but what if I'm trying to do many, many problems? I already know how to do this stuff. My brain is great for critical thinking, but as a computational tool, it is inferior to a computer. So why wouldn't I use that if I'm trying to do some high level, some very productive work with numbers? Why wouldn't I use the calculator? Similarly, AI is in a similar situation, but we do need to guide the usage of it and guide it ethically and with critical thinking in mind, and making sure that we have full agency in how we use it. And the people that are going to be able to impart that knowledge the best are going to be the educators, the teachers. So they need to be the first ones to learn it.
What is one misconception by AI that you believe is holding people back right now?
That AI is too complex to learn by anyone. That it requires coding, that you need to know programming language like Python, and that means that, wow, it's all this techie geeky. I'm just going to go right up over my head. Absolutely not. Actually, if anything, with the automation that we have nowadays, coding has actually become, there's this term nowadays called vibe coding. This idea that you work with an AI model that helps you code. Now, I'm not saying that now you don't need coders whatsoever, and that, you could just use AI to code everything. But AI now is a very, very helpful tool in coding. I remember when I was young and I was learning a programming language like C++ or Java. These are languages we use to program, build computer programs. I remember at the time I was like, wow, it's complex. You have to know the syntax, and you need to, when you build programs, sometimes the program doesn't work properly, and you have to debug it and all this crazy stuff. Now we have automation tools that help us with this, that can point out where we messed up in the code, and it helps us learn at the same time. So if you are somebody who were intimidated by coding and by all this stuff when it comes to computers, actually AI is a very useful tutor and tool that can help you. There's no better time to learn this stuff than right now. And I would say that first, let go of this concept that it is something that is difficult, or that you can't learn it, or that it's above your head, or that it requires you to be a math whiz or what have you. These skills absolutely help. There's no doubt about it, but you don't need to have these skills to be able to learn this. If you want to learn it, if you want to keep up with the times, if you want to be relevant in the future society, in the future of work, you need to learn it. You need to at least learn the basics, and take baby steps. When you learn some of those basics, before you know it, you might just go down a path where it becomes your new career.
When our audience leaves this conversation, what mindset or truth do you hope they carry with them about technology and their place in the future?
Technology in today's society and in our lives is inevitable, unless you decide to go live in a hut somewhere in the Azores and live on God's green earth, and just not deal with phones or computers or television or any of that stuff. In which case, then you don't need it. You're good to go. But in the society that we live in today, technology is incredibly important, and because of that, I would encourage everybody to take the time to learn how it works. Don't just be users of the tools, please. And what I mean by that is I mentioned this several times, we all have social media accounts, and we all have communication devices, and we all have these wonderful phones. And I say wonderful kind of half lovingly, because they're also can be quite toxic, to be honest with you. But we need to understand how these tools work, how they work on us, how we can use them for productivity, how can we use them for learning, rather than in ways that just entertain us and dull our minds at the same time. I'm not saying, entertainment's great. I love my gaming devices. I love playing with my VR headset. I have an Instagram account. I keep up with people, all this stuff. But we need to have a healthy relationship with the technology. We need to be mindfully using it. And so in order to do that, I think the best thing that I would leave the viewers with is go learn this stuff. Go take a class on AI, any class. Learn how it works. If you're using any of these things that I mentioned, learn how they use AI. Open your journey up to technology so that you don't become a product. I don't want people to become products. I want them to be, the ones that are using the tech mindfully, rather than the tech kind of exploiting their attention and monetizing their attention.
I really appreciate you for sharing all of this information with us, Mr. Hafez. If you could please tell us, how do we get in touch with you? How do we find you as we wrap this interview up with you today?
Well, I can leave a Linktree post. It's Linktree/Mo Hafez. If you go there, you can connect with me. You'll find my social media. You'll find my podcast. I have a wonderful podcast called Beyond the Byte. And it's where I basically talk about technology and educate everybody about technology for free. You guys can come check it out. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And also on the Linktree, you can check out some of the workshops that I have. But yeah, I encourage users, find me on social media. I'm also on Instagram at beyond.the.byte. Just connect with me and start your AI learning.
Ethical Technologist and Professor with ByteWise LLC and Johns Hopkins University, Mohamed Ali Hafez. Thank you so much for being my guest here today on Amplify with Amanda Sapp. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Amanda. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely.